Hello. Morning. Want to comment, feel free. You're not going to do that. I don't bother with lyric songs and all that. I should be all the book. Oh yeah. Morning. I like this one. I think I'll leave the music. Now, what you can see on there, hopefully you can see it. If you put it full screen, you should be able to read the text on the book. God's secretaries, I've got it right here. God's secretaries, the making of the King James Bible. I haven't read all of it. I have read a fair amount of it. I'm going to make a point of reading it. And I did read page 4, the one that the certain individual in California is setting great stock by. You know, if only some people would learn English. And it is King's English, that has to be remembered. And it's not a great deal different than what you would call modern day English. And yeah, I mean, the fonts and all that kind of thing. But the English is still there. It isn't like Greek, where you've got Koine Greek, or Common Greek, I think they called it, and Classical Greek, where it's like a posher version of Greek. Now, it doesn't work like that, not English. And yes, some of the words, you know, the King's English speakers 400 years ago were using have become sort of redundant, not used anymore. We can still ascertain meaning. Okay, now then, I've got a banner there. Oh, it is up. Comments. Now, as I said earlier, feel free to comment. You're not going to lose your salvation just because you have done. I mean, you know, come on, don't be ridiculous. I've got a little clip here, Kevin Thompson. I'll just play this because this was, I should have streamed this 3 or 4 years, 3 or 4 days ago. I've been meaning to stream over the weekend. For some reason, I didn't. Well, anyway, there you go.
What do I need to do now? 2 simple things. Number 1, simple. Don't say anything that lacks a direct referential correlate in lived reality. That's it.
Yeah.
Don't say anything. Well, I'm going to get up here and preach a sermon. I'm going to say all this stuff. I'm going to use a systematic theology. Don't. Just don't. Shut your mouth. Don't say anything. And why? Because you could be self-deceived, don't think anything that lacks a direct referential correlate in real life. Just don't. So you're going to have to practice this, and you're going to have to get better at it, and it's going to take some time. Okay? You can't just listen to this video and be like, "Oh, God, that makes sense. I'm out of here," and never think about it again. You have to put some mental energy in this. You have to make this part of your daily meditations. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, what we could call minimalism. You want to have as few of these things as possible. Have as few opinions as possible. Know what your axioms are. We tell people axiomatic awareness and axiomatic minimalism. It might be worth trying to saying this just so you can see it. Put axiomatic awareness on here. because people don't know what their axioms are.
Irreducible.
What are your axioms that you operate by? And if you're a Calvinist, you're going to start listing the tulip. No, those would be derivatives, okay? You don't understand epistemics. Okay, your axioms are the base minimum things that you must presume to be true in order to move forward with making sense of your environment.
Exists. Yeah. That is a short clip. But I don't know if any of you know, when you do StreamYard or live stream, it will make some AI short clips. You can edit them and play about and this, that, and the other. That's all that one was. And that was part of the intro for me live stream. That should have been over the weekend. In fact, I think I should have live streamed it last Friday, perhaps Thursday, even last Thursday. Oh, well, I mean, I'm not on your timeline. I'm on my own. And, you know, sometimes you just sit there and think, oh. From now on, though, I think I'm going to make an effort to sort of strike while the iron is hot. I did have a conversation with a certain person in Wisconsin the other day, yesterday. And it went okay, sort of. I won't say I was totally slow on the pickup what he was driving at. I got his point. The trouble is, one of the problems would be, I'm not going back on what I said the other day, by the way, but one of the problems would be when I use the word father, or you do, nobody knows whether you're using capital F or lowercase f, and unless you specifically say that you're doing that. And I mean, if somebody's reading along as you're reading scripture, then they should know. And there is a difference, a very clear difference. Anyway, I'm just going to get rid of that. Where's that now? Oh, that's it. Yeah, remove. Right, I'm just going to show you that's removed from studio. I took 2 photographs of this book. No big deal. I've got a book, so what? Yeah, so what? God's secretaries. I'm going to read, I don't know whether I'm going to do it straight away now or read from page 4 of it later. Suffice to say, in fact, I'm going to take a photograph of the actual text. I mean, it's like one sentence with maybe 2 clauses in it. It could be 2 or 3 sentences, I forget now. And they're trying to state, they're making the claim that King James, on the basis of that text in the God's Secretary's book, that he was a sodomite, and that is beyond ridiculous. I don't even pay any mind now, really, because they're just getting stupider. I should have listened to all of it, really, but I got a transcript of it. I got transcript to Charlie Michael's Last Contraption, and that's loaded with fallacy. And I'm going to tune in on it. I'm going to be more careful on picking up on fallacies without being nitpicky and all that kind of thing. When you listen to people, you've got to really, really listen. You really do. And I mean, that is an important skill. And it is a skill, by the way. Certain people are being hidden from my channel as well, by the way. I may as well tell you. I don't care whether you like it or not. It's just the way it is. That's it. Done. You've got nothing to say that I place any kind of high value on. This is my PayPal on there. It's pinned. You're not obligated. You don't have to. You just completely ignore it. Nobody even knows that you're watching me live stream. So there you go. And I will never reveal who has donated and whatever, the amount or names or any of that. I don't do it. I won't do it. Never will. But anyway, there you go. Now the video I'm going to play in a minute. Yeah, it is a, I can't remember if it's Nietzsche or Schopenhauer. Could be a blend of both. Might be. I can't remember now. I did listen to it earlier. I should have. I think it was Nietzsche. Not sure. That might be the one before that. I gave up on that one because it just wasn't interesting. Authenticity is an important thing. And this is what this video is. I'm going to play this now.
Think for a moment about how many times you said yes, when every part of you wanted to say no.
Yeah.
Imagine constantly trying to please everyone around you. You smile even when you feel hurt. You agree even when you disagree. You help even when you are exhausted. On the surface, it may seem like kindness, it may even look like virtue, but beneath that kindness, something much deeper is happening. What if the very trait you believed made you a good person is slowly destroying your peace, your identity, and even your future? Many people spend their entire lives believing that being nice is the safest way to be loved, accepted, and valued. Society often rewards politeness, obedience, and sacrifice. From childhood, we are taught to avoid conflict, to keep everyone comfortable, and to place the needs of others before our own. But here is the uncomfortable truth. When kindness becomes a constant need to please others, it stops being kindness. It becomes self-betrayal. And the most dangerous part is that many people do not even realize it is happening. Today, we are going to explore something that may change the way you see yourself and the people around you. We will uncover why being excessively nice can quietly erode your confidence, your boundaries, and your sense of purpose. We will explore the psychological mechanisms behind this behavior, the philosophical insights that warned about it long ago, and the powerful shifts that allow a person to reclaim their life. And the final insight we will reveal later in this journey may be the most powerful of all. It has the potential to completely transform how you understand kindness, strength, and self-respect. But before we go deeper, take a moment to support the channel. If you are someone who enjoys exploring the deeper ideas of psychology, philosophy, and human behavior, subscribe to the channel, leave a like, share this video with someone who might need to hear this message, and tell us in the comments. Have you ever felt that being too nice caused people to take advantage of you? Your experience may resonate with many others here. Now let us begin with an uncomfortable observation about human nature. The world does not treat people according to how good they are. It treats them according to how they allow themselves to be treated. This idea may sound harsh at first, but psychologists and philosophers have recognized it for generations. The famous psychologist Carl Jung often spoke about the danger of suppressing one's true feelings in order to maintain an image of goodness. When individuals deny their own needs, frustrations, and boundaries, those emotions do not disappear. They simply move into what Jung called the shadow. And the shadow always finds a way to express itself. Sometimes it appears as quiet resentment, sometimes as exhaustion, sometimes as a deep feeling that life is somehow unfair, even though you are always trying to do the right thing. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche also warned about a similar phenomenon. He argued that excessive self-sacrifice could sometimes hide a subtle form of weakness. When people constantly avoid confrontation, constantly suppress their own voice, and constantly seek approval, they may slowly lose their sense of individuality. Instead of living authentically, they begin living according to the expectations of others. And little by little, their life no longer belongs to them. Have you ever noticed how certain people seem to attract respect, while others, despite being extremely kind, often attract manipulation?
Yeah.
This is not an accident. Human beings instinctively read boundaries. When someone never defends their time, their energy, or their values, others may unconsciously begin to treat that person as if their needs matter less. Not because people are always cruel, but because human behavior naturally adapts to the signals we send. When you constantly sacrifice yourself to avoid disappointing others, the message you send is simple. Your limits are flexible, your needs are negotiable, and your silence can be relied upon. Over time, this creates a quiet imbalance in
Well, that's
relationships.
true, isn't it? Yeah.
You give more and more, hoping appreciation will eventually appear. But instead of gratitude, something else often emerges: expectation. People begin to expect your availability. They expect your help. They expect your patience. And the moment you finally attempt to set a boundary, they may react with surprise, confusion, or even frustration. Why? Because the version of you they learned to interact with never said no. This is where many people experience a painful realization. They begin to understand that being endlessly agreeable did not create deeper respect. Instead, it created invisible pressure to keep sacrificing. And the longer this pattern continues, the harder it becomes to escape. But the real danger of being too nice is not only how others treat you. The deeper danger is what it slowly does to your relationship with yourself. Every time you silence your own truth, you send yourself a message that your voice matters less. Every time you ignore your own needs to keep someone comfortable, you reinforce the belief that your well-being is secondary. And over years, this pattern can quietly erode self-respect. Psychologist Nathaniel Branden, one of the leading researchers on self-esteem, emphasized that self-respect grows when individuals honor their own values and boundaries. When a person repeatedly violates their own limits in order to please others, their self-esteem gradually weakens. Because deep inside, the mind always knows when it has abandoned itself. This is why many people who are known as the nicest individuals in their social circles often feel the most exhausted, overlooked, or misunderstood. They are loved for their usefulness, but rarely understood for who they truly are. So let me ask you something important. When was the last time you chose honesty over approval? When was the last time you protected your time, even if it disappointed someone? When was the last time you allowed yourself to be seen as strong rather than endlessly accommodating? These questions may feel uncomfortable, but they reveal something essential. True kindness does not require self-erasure, and the people who understand this truth live very differently from those who do not. In the next part of this journey, we will explore something even more surprising. We will uncover the hidden psychological reason why so many intelligent, empathetic, and compassionate people fall into the trap of excessive niceness. It is not simply about personality. It is often rooted in deeper emotional conditioning formed early in life. And once you understand this hidden mechanism, you may begin to see your own behavior through an entirely new lens. To truly understand why being too nice can quietly damage your life, we must go deeper than behavior. We must explore the hidden emotional patterns that shape the way people relate to others. Because excessive niceness is rarely just a personality trait. More often, it is a survival strategy. Many psychologists have observed that people who constantly try to please others often develop this habit very early in life. As children, they may have learned that love, approval, or emotional safety depended on keeping others happy. Perhaps they grew up in an environment where conflict felt dangerous. Perhaps affection was given only when they behaved well, stayed quiet, or avoided causing problems. In such situations, a child quickly learns something powerful about the world. Acceptance must be earned. The child begins to believe that their role is to maintain harmony at any cost. They become highly attentive to the emotions of others, carefully adjusting their behavior to avoid rejection or criticism. Over time, this ability becomes almost automatic. Psychologists refer to this pattern as people-pleasing, a behavior strongly connected to what researchers call approval dependency. Instead of developing an internal sense of self-worth, the individual learns to measure their value through the reactions of others. If people are happy with them, they feel safe. If someone is disappointed or upset, they feel anxiety, guilt, or fear. This creates a powerful emotional loop. The individual constantly adjusts their behavior to maintain approval, even when it requires sacrificing their own needs. The psychologist Harriet Breaker, who studied people-pleasing extensively, described this pattern as a form of psychological dependency. The desire for approval becomes so strong that the individual may struggle to make decisions that could potentially upset others. But here is the paradox. The more someone seeks approval, the less genuine their relationships often become. Because relationships built on constant accommodation rarely allow true honesty to exist. Imagine a friendship, a partnership, or even a workplace relationship where one person never expresses disagreement, never sets limits, and never reveals their true frustrations. At first, it may appear harmonious, but over time, something important disappears: authenticity. Without authenticity, connection becomes shallow. People interact not with the real person, but with the agreeable version that has been carefully constructed to avoid conflict. The psychoanalyst Donald Winnicott described a similar concept through what he called the false self. According to Winnicott, when individuals suppress their authentic feelings in order to meet external expectations, they may gradually create a social identity that hides their true inner life. The false self becomes the version of the person that the world sees: polite, helpful, always accommodating. But behind that image, the real self often feels invisible. This is why many people who are known for being extremely kind privately experience a deep sense of loneliness. They are surrounded by relationships, yet few people truly know who they are beneath the surface. Have you ever felt that way? Have you ever felt that people appreciate what you do for them, but not necessarily who you are? This emotional distance can slowly grow into frustration. Yet many people who fall into the pattern of excessive niceness struggle to express that frustration. They fear that speaking honestly might damage the relationships they worked so hard to maintain. So the cycle continues. They give more. They tolerate more. They remain silent longer, until eventually something inside begins to break. Sometimes it appears as burnout, sometimes as quiet resentment, sometimes as a feeling that life has become unfair or exhausting. Carl Jung warned that when individuals repress too much of their authentic self, the suppressed emotions eventually emerge in unexpected ways. The more someone denies their own needs, the more those needs demand recognition. And when they finally surface, the person may feel confused. They might ask themselves, "Why am I so tired of helping others? Why do I suddenly feel angry when I have always been patient? Why does it feel like people only come to me when they need something?" The answer is rarely simple, but it often points to the same underlying issue. A life built entirely around pleasing others leaves very little room for the self. But here is where the story becomes even more fascinating, because excessive niceness does not only affect how others treat you, it also changes the way people perceive your strength, your leadership, and your value in social environments. And this perception has profound consequences for your career, your relationships, and your personal growth. In the next part, we will explore a surprising truth about human psychology that many people do not realize. Why do individuals who constantly sacrifice for others often receive less respect than those who confidently defend their boundaries? The answer lies in how human beings instinctively interpret confidence, authority, and personal value. And once you understand this dynamic, you may begin to see why the world often responds very differently to kindness that is balanced with strength. There is a subtle but powerful truth about human psychology that many people discover only after years of frustration. People do not only respond to kindness, they respond to strength. This does not mean aggression, arrogance, or cruelty. True strength is something far more quiet and stable. It is the ability to respect
Right, sorry about that. I got kicked out of my own studio. I don't know why. I'm going to upload that again. Bear with me. Hopefully I'll find the spot where we ended up. I should have just checked the time, actually. on that video how far in. I don't know why. My book was rested on top of my keyboard. That might not have helped. Bear with me, I do apologise, there's nothing I can do. I mean, you know, these things happen. Especially if you've got a garbage laptop.
Think for a moment about how many times you person, even though they may help less frequently, is often perceived as more authoritative, more competent, and more deserving of respect. Why does this happen? Because boundaries...
By the way, the link's there, so you can always check it out later.
...signal value. The philosopher and psychologist William James once wrote that the deepest principle in human nature is the desire to be appreciated. Yet appreciation often follows something unexpected. Clarity. When a person communicates their limits clearly, they signal that their time and energy are meaningful resources. Others begin to treat those resources with more care. But when someone behaves as if their time and energy are endlessly available, the opposite message is sent. Availability without limits, and human psychology tends to adapt quickly to that signal. This dynamic appears not only in workplaces, but also in friendships, romantic relationships, and even family dynamics. Many people who struggle with being too nice notice a similar pattern across different areas of their life. They become the person everyone turns to for help, emotional support, favors, or solutions. At first, it feels good to be needed, but slowly, the balance begins to shift. Their kindness becomes expected rather than valued. Their patience becomes assumed rather than respected, and their silence becomes interpreted as agreement. This is why many individuals who are excessively agreeable eventually feel invisible in their own lives. They are present in every relationship, yet their voice carries very little influence. Have you ever noticed how people often interrupt the quietest person in the room? Or how the person who always agrees is rarely asked what they truly want? This is not because their opinions are unimportant, it is because they have trained others not to expect those opinions. The social psychologist Solomon Asch conducted famous experiments on conformity that revealed how strongly people adjust their behavior to match the environment around them. When individuals constantly suppress disagreement, they reinforce a social environment where their voice becomes less visible. And once that pattern is established, reversing it can feel extremely difficult. Because the moment a person who has always been agreeable finally speaks with firmness, others may react with surprise or resistance. They might say things like, "You have changed. You are being difficult. You never used to mind this." But in reality, something much healthier may be happening. The person is finally learning to exist as themselves rather than as the version that kept everyone comfortable. And that transition can feel both liberating and terrifying. Because when you stop being endlessly nice, you risk something many people fear deeply: disapproval, rejection, misunderstanding. Yet here lies one of the most powerful truths about personal growth. A life built on avoiding disapproval often becomes a life where your true self never fully appears. The psychologist Abraham Maslow, known for his work on human potential, believed that self-actualization requires courage. It requires the willingness to express one's authentic nature, even when it challenges expectations. In other words, growth often begins where excessive accommodation ends. So let me ask you something deeply important. If you stopped trying to keep everyone comfortable, who would you become? If you allowed yourself to speak honestly, protect your energy, and say no when necessary, how different would your life look? For many people, these questions awaken both hope and fear. Because breaking the habit of excessive niceness is not simply about learning to say no. It is about redefining your identity. And in the next part, we will explore one of the most misunderstood ideas about kindness itself. Because true kindness does not mean endless sacrifice. In fact, some of the most compassionate individuals in history understood something that many people overlook. Sometimes the most honest act of kindness requires the courage to disappoint others. One of the greatest misunderstandings about kindness is the belief that it must always be comfortable for everyone involved. But true kindness and constant accommodation are not the same thing. In fact, many of the wisest thinkers in history understood that real kindness often requires courage. It requires honesty. And sometimes it even requires the willingness to disappoint people. This idea may seem contradictory at first. After all, if kindness is about caring for others, why would it ever involve creating discomfort? The answer lies in something fundamental about human relationships. Healthy relationships require truth. When truth disappears, relationships may remain peaceful on the surface, but beneath that surface something essential begins to weaken. Respect fades, authenticity disappears, and the connection becomes built on illusion rather than understanding. The philosopher Aristotle wrote extensively about the concept of virtue, explaining that every virtue exists between two extremes. Courage, for example, exists between cowardice and recklessness. Generosity exists between selfishness and wastefulness. Kindness is no different. True kindness exists between cruelty and self-erasure. When someone becomes excessively nice, they often move beyond kindness into self-neglect. Their desire to avoid conflict becomes so strong that they abandon their own emotional needs, their boundaries, and sometimes even their principles. And ironically, this behavior can slowly damage the very relationships they are trying to protect. Imagine a friendship where one person constantly agrees with everything. They never challenge ideas, never express disagreement, and never reveal frustration. At first, this may seem harmonious, but over time, something important disappears. Mutual respect. Respect grows when people feel they are interacting with someone authentic, someone who has their own thoughts, their own values, and their own voice. When a person hides those things to maintain peace, others may begin to sense that something is missing. The psychologist Brené Brown has spoken extensively about vulnerability and authenticity in human connection. She emphasizes that real connection only exists when people allow themselves to be seen as they truly are. Not as perfect, not as endlessly agreeable, but as real. This means expressing opinions even when they differ. It means acknowledging frustration when something feels unfair. It means saying no when a request violates your limits. At first, this can feel incredibly uncomfortable for someone who has spent years being the agreeable one in every situation. Their mind may immediately imagine the worst possible outcomes. What if people get upset? What if they think I am selfish? What if they stop liking me? But here is a truth that many people discover only after making this shift. The relationships that survive honesty are the ones that were real all along, and the ones that disappear were often built on the expectation of endless accommodation. This realization can be painful, but it is also deeply liberating, because it reveals something important about the nature of respect. Respect is not built on constant agreement. It is built on authenticity. When people see that you value your time, your energy, and your principles, they begin to understand that your kindness is not weakness. It becomes something much more powerful, a choice. You help because you want to, not because you feel obligated. You listen because you care, not because you are afraid of conflict. And when you say yes, that yes carries far more meaning because it is no longer automatic. This transformation changes the entire dynamic of how others interact with you. Suddenly, your presence carries weight. Your time becomes valuable. Your voice becomes something people listen to rather than something that quietly disappears in the background. But there is still one final piece of this puzzle that many people overlook. Even when someone understands the dangers of being too nice, changing the habit can feel incredibly difficult. Years of conditioning cannot disappear overnight. The mind resists change because it fears losing acceptance. And this is where the final insight of our journey becomes the most powerful of all. Because the real solution is not to stop being kind. It is to redefine what kindness truly means. In the final part, we will explore the most important shift that allows a person to remain compassionate, generous, and supportive without sacrificing their identity, their energy, or their self-respect. And once you understand this shift, You may begin to see that the strongest and most respected individuals are not the ones who please everyone. They are the ones who balance kindness with courage. At this point, an important question naturally arises. If being too nice can damage our confidence, weaken our boundaries, and invite imbalance in our relationships, what is the alternative? Should we become colder, more distant, less caring? Many people fear that setting boundaries will turn them into someone they do not want to be. They imagine that protecting themselves means becoming selfish or insensitive. But this fear is based on a false choice. The real goal is not to abandon kindness. The real goal is to transform it. There is a profound difference between kindness that comes from fear and kindness that comes from strength. Kindness born from fear says yes because it is afraid of rejection. It agrees because it is afraid of conflict. It sacrifices because it believes approval must be earned. But kindness born from strength is entirely different. It helps freely, but not compulsively. It listens with compassion, but it does not absorb every burden. It supports others while still protecting its own well-being. This distinction was deeply understood by the philosopher and psychologist Erich Fromm. In his reflections on love and human connection, Fromm emphasized that genuine care for others cannot exist without self-respect. A person who abandons themselves cannot offer healthy love because their actions are driven by insecurity rather than freedom. True generosity is only possible when a person feels whole within themselves. When you respect your own limits, something remarkable begins to happen. Your kindness becomes intentional rather than automatic. You begin to ask yourself questions that previously never crossed your mind. Do I genuinely want to help in this situation? Do I have the emotional energy to offer support right now? Is this request fair, or am I being asked to sacrifice too much? These questions are not selfish. They are essential for maintaining a balanced life. The psychologist Henry Cloud, who studied the importance of boundaries in relationships, explains that boundaries are not walls meant to keep people out. They are lines that define where your responsibility ends and another person's responsibility begins. Without these lines, relationships often become confusing and unhealthy. People begin to depend on you for things they should handle themselves. You may find yourself solving problems that are not yours to solve, carrying emotional weight that was never meant for you. And the more you take on, the more exhausted you become. But when boundaries are clear, relationships become healthier for everyone involved. Others learn to respect your time. They learn to appreciate your help rather than assume it. And perhaps most importantly, they learn to take responsibility for their own lives. This shift can feel uncomfortable at first, especially for someone who has spent years being the reliable helper in every situation. There may be moments of guilt. There may be moments where you question whether you are doing the right thing. But guilt does not always mean something is wrong. Sometimes guilt simply means you are breaking an old pattern. Over time, as you begin to practice this new way of living, you may notice something surprising. You do not become less kind. You become more authentic. Your generosity feels lighter because it comes from choice rather than pressure. Your relationships become deeper because they are built on honesty rather than silent sacrifice. And perhaps most importantly, you begin to rediscover something that excessive niceness often erodes. Your sense of self. You remember what you enjoy. You remember what you believe. You remember that your voice deserves space in the world just as much as anyone else's. But there is still one final realization that completes this transformation. A realization that many people overlook when they begin learning about boundaries and self-respect. Because protecting yourself is not only about saying no to others, it is also about saying yes to your own life, and in the final part we will uncover the most powerful shift of all. The moment when a person stops living for approval and begins living with purpose. There comes a moment in the life of someone who has spent years trying to please everyone, when a quiet realization begins to emerge. A realization that changes everything. You cannot build a meaningful life while constantly living according to the expectations of others. For a long time, many people believe that approval will bring fulfillment. They believe that if they are kind enough, helpful enough, agreeable enough, they will eventually earn the peace, appreciation, and belonging they seek. But sooner or later, reality reveals something different. Approval is temporary. Expectations are endless. And if your identity is built on constantly satisfying those expectations, you may spend your entire life chasing something that never truly settles. This is why many great thinkers throughout history emphasize the importance of self-direction. The philosopher Søren Kierkegaard once wrote that the greatest tragedy of life is not death, but living without ever becoming who you truly are. A person may appear successful, admired and accepted by society, yet still feel disconnected from their own inner truth. Because their life was shaped more by expectations than by authenticity. When someone breaks free from the habit of excessive niceness, they are not simply learning to say no. They are beginning something far more profound. They are reclaiming authorship of their life. This shift does not mean abandoning compassion. It does not mean rejecting cooperation or kindness. What changes is the motivation behind those actions. Instead of helping because you feel obligated, you help because you genuinely choose to. Instead of agreeing because you fear disapproval, you speak honestly because you respect both yourself and the other person. Instead of living to maintain harmony at any cost, you begin living according to values that truly matter to you. The psychologist Viktor Frankl, who studied meaning and human resilience, argued that fulfillment arises when individuals align their lives with purpose rather than external validation. According to Frankl, people who live only for approval often experience emptiness because approval alone cannot provide a sense of meaning. Purpose, however, can, and purpose requires authenticity. It requires the courage to stand by your values, even when doing so may disappoint others. It requires the willingness to express your ideas, even when they challenge the expectations of those around you. This is the paradox that many people eventually discover. The moment you stop trying to please everyone, you often become more respected, not because you become harder or more distant, but because people sense something different in your presence. Clarity, confidence, integrity. When your kindness is no longer driven by fear, it becomes far more powerful. It becomes a conscious expression of who you are, rather than a reflex designed to maintain approval. And the world responds differently to that kind of kindness. People listen more carefully. They value your time more deeply. They respect your voice more sincerely. But perhaps the greatest change happens within you. You begin to experience a form of peace that was previously difficult to reach. The exhausting mental calculations about how to keep everyone satisfied begin to disappear. Instead of constantly adjusting yourself to match every environment, you begin to carry a stable sense of identity wherever you go. You know what you stand for. You know what you are willing to give. And you know what you must protect. This is not selfishness, this is self-respect. And strangely enough, self-respect often becomes the foundation for the most genuine kindness a person can offer. Because when you are no longer abandoning yourself, you can finally show up in the world as your complete and authentic self. So now let us return to the question that began this journey. What happens when someone is too nice? At first, they may gain approval, but over time, they risk losing something far more important: their voice, their boundaries, their identity. Yet the moment they rediscover the courage to live with honesty, balance, and self-respect, everything begins to shift. Their kindness becomes stronger, their relationships become more authentic, and their life finally begins to belong to them. Now we would love to hear from you. Have you ever experienced a moment when you realized that being too nice was costing you your peace or your self-respect? What changed for you after that realization? Share your thoughts in the comments below, because your story may help someone else recognize the same pattern in their own life. And if this message resonated with you, subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and share this video with someone who might need this reminder. Sometimes the most important transformation in life begins with a simple realization. Kindness is powerful, but only when it does not come at the cost of yourself.
Right, I'm going to get rid of that. The link's in the side chat there, assuming anybody comes around later. There it is, look. I might just put that in there again because no. I'll get the link again later. There it is anyway, you can spot it. I'm just going to upload a couple of images. I'm going to read a little bit. It'll take about 5 minutes from this God's Secretary's book. I didn't take a photograph of the actual pages, just the front cover. So I'm going to show the front cover now. I do have that book. I could show it on screen. I don't actually want to show my face. I'm not hiding or anything like that. In fact, should I really bother? If you're sat there and you actually want to believe that King James was a sodomite, that's up to you. I'm not going to spend hours and hours and hours going over it. No, thanks. No, not falling for that one. And, to read what looks like, if I remember correctly, because I did read it yesterday on a certain person's channel, and to take 2 lines from the text of a book, and then imply explicitly, implicitly, whatever, that King James was a sodomite. I mean, it's just totally stupid. Really, it's ridiculous. So, there you go. And if you look at, even in this book here that I've got, the word dandy is an old-fashioned word. I don't know. Some highly educated person who might be a writer, might have a degree in English or something, might actually use the word dandy. It just means somebody who dresses flamboyantly. I'm going to have a look at the definition though later, double check. And even today, the King of England has people in his bedchamber that I assume help him get dressed in the morning. They bring out his suit from the wardrobe or whatever, things like that. You Americans make me sick with this silliness and stupidity. Somebody who you disagree with, apparently, and this goes to Charlie Michaels as well, is all of a sudden a sodomite. I'm going to put a timestamp next to Charlie Michaels' name. And as I said earlier, I don't know if you remember, I have a transcript of Charlie Michaels' latest video, which is just loaded with fallacy. I've got them uploaded now anyway. I'll upload that picture of the front cover of the book I'm going to read. Hopefully I can find it relatively quickly. No, it's not helping. I don't know why I have this problem every time I want to get an image that I've uploaded from my mobile phone. There must be some sort of knack to it. Yeah, that one there, and then I'll have a look at the other one. I don't know how I would prove that I've actually got that book. Why would I even bother? Why would it matter? Image file again. try it that way. Yeah. Oh, well, there you go. This is the actual book I've got. Different cover to the one a certain person in Wisconsin's got. So what? I seriously doubt that the guy in California's got a copy. If he has, I'm glad. Because he's wasted money on a book that, I mean, what's the point of him even having it? If he thinks King James was a sodomite, then why would he even read a KJV? Hey, why? Why? In fact, I'll show you that I have got the book. I'm going to turn my camera on. I'll move my mobile phone out of the way. Oh. Oh, Struth. There it is. And it's open at page 4. There's quite a lot of other... Oh, you can't see much there anyway, it's just text. Can you see that? Hopefully you can. There's other images in there, black and white images. There. Hopefully that's good enough. It'll have to be. It will have to be. Not mucking about all morning for people that really are quite, in my opinion, evil. Because even if King James was like that, right? That's nothing to do with the translators at all. It has no bearing on the issue. So I'm going to read from page 4. Well, actually, page 5. I'm not going to read all of it. Let's have a look. I'll put my light on. This is page 5, the second paragraph. A poor man now arrived at the land of promise. This is from, obviously, God's secretaries. There's a hole in the front cover of mine, which shows King James behind it. Quite unusual way of doing things. Page 5, second paragraph. It was the most perfect moment of James's life. He received Carey in his bedroom. The Englishman knelt before the king and saluted him by the title of England, Scotland, France, and Ireland. He gave me his hand to kiss. and bade me welcome. James wanted to know what letters Carey brought with him from the English council, but Carey had to confess he had none. This was private enterprise against the wishes of the English Secretary of State, Robert Cecil, and the only sign that Carey had brought from the south was a sapphire ring, which James had once sent to Carey's sister, Philadelphia, Lady Scroop, with the express purpose that she would return it as soon as she knew that Elizabeth had died. It was enough. James had come into his own. He rewarded Carey with a place as one of the grooms of the bedchamber, or so he promised. Within a few weeks, Carey was squeezed out of the position, probably by Cecil, who objected to the vulgarity of Carey's dash north, perhaps by jealous and ambitious Scots. Right, there's nothing here that would indicate anything sodomite. Now, where's that word dandy occur in this? It's probably on page 4. He fell off his horse on the way there, so... Now, the word dandy is used in this. I'm not really going to spend too much time. He was a commander against the Spanish Armada and a court dandy. This is page 4, second paragraph. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh yeah, this part here. Sir Robert Carey, who at different times had been a commander against the Spanish Armada and a court dandy, just the sort of glamorous and rather sexy man to whom James was instinctively drawn, had ridden night and day on his own behalf to bring the news of Elizabeth's death to Scotland. Well, I don't know why he would use the phrase sexy man, to whom James was instinctively drawn. I mean, the American mentality, being as stupid as it is generally, right? They're going to read gay into that. If King James had been gay, you can bet your bottom dollar that the Catholics would have known about it with all their spies and all that other filth. And they would have brought it up before he was even crowned as king. They would have objected and they would have said, oh, this man is a sodomite, blah, blah. He shouldn't be on the throne, all that kind of thing. And let's assume they found out later after he'd been crowned. They could have brought it up in the court. I don't mean court as in where people get prosecuted. The court of the king. I mean, there would have been whispers and all that kind of thing. The only people really that have actually accused King James of that are the Catholics, the Roman Catholics. And even then, even if it was true, which it isn't, I certainly don't believe it's true. Right. Are we to assume then that all the translators for the king were sodomites? Eh? Is that what we're supposed to believe, is it? Right. I might even upload these pictures to my community post on my channel. That's the book there. Right. And that's as much as I'm going to deal with on that subject. You can say all the garbage that you want. I'm keeping to me King James. I am a King James only guy. Couldn't care less what everybody else says. He can say I'm not, and this and that and the other. So what? He's not the cornerstone of the King James only crew. He's not the touchstone of it. he doesn't get to decide who's KJV only and who isn't. And that coming from a guy who actually goes to, I mean, this is when he's reading King's English, right? He'll use an American dictionary of the English language. I mean, oh, yeah, talk about dumb. Well, I shouldn't use the word dumb, really. Stupid. No, he's not. Yeah, I did have a conversation with him yesterday. So what? Say all you want. I mean, when somebody's using the word father when they're speaking on a live stream, you don't actually know whether they're... I mean, obviously, if you follow through with scripture, you would know whether they're using capital F or lowercase f. And yeah, if you get that wrong on that particular passage, Romans 11:28, then you're going to misconstrue the context and who's being referred to. Oh yeah, no doubt about that. I sort of agree with him on that. His second problem is, well, okay, even if you are correct, and I don't dispute that. Oh, I think he's correct to a certain extent, yeah. So what? What are you going to do? Why don't you just deal with yourself rather than thinking that you're in a position to deal with everybody else? Because you're not. You really aren't. You've got no authority. You're not in charge of anybody. I'm going to put a timestamp anyway later. That is... oh, I'll just call it bang on 1 hour. I might even tag him on it. Yeah. I watched Tucker the Baptist's video this morning. That was pretty good. Quite fun. I find Tucker really funny, you know. I don't know why. I don't mean funny peculiar. I just mean amusing funny. He is funny. Yeah, yeah. Well, why is it always difficult to get rid of that thing? Talking about my mobile phone. Would be nice if people would come over and comment and things. Oh, where's that other video? I might have, for some reason, I'm on my mobile, and I can't see that link I posted to the video that I just watched. So I'm going to get a link to it now and post it. Maybe it just, I don't know if the comments vanish after it's been going for a while, you know. If you know what I mean. They just, they sort of run out. And they're not visible until later on. So I'm going to put the comment in again. I'll post it with a couple of thumbs up. So you know, there it is going in now. I'll put a blue dot at the end of it there. And then post. Yeah, the link's there. Yeah. Oh yeah. So check that link out. That's the one I just watched. Temporal Nomad. Oh, Veckel, yeah. He made a comment saying that Calvinism is the gospel. What a clown. Really? What a clown. I'm not going to show comments on screen. I mean, the guy's an idiot, really. So I'll call it 1 hour, 10 minutes. I'll tag Michael on that. I'll put that next. Oh, there's praise. There's Tom. Hello. Yeah, I don't know if you heard. I'm having a nice day. I'm not too bad. I don't know if you, because I don't suppose that you're too bothered. You saw Charlie Michael's latest contraction, which I got a transcript of. It's only 22 minutes. Absolutely loaded with fallacy. I have got an analysis of it. I did sort of cheat, but I used 25 different parameters to analyze text, grammar, text, fallacies, TFL. Oh, what's the other one? HOL, the logic. Oh, what is the name now? Oh, you're going to respond later, okay. I've got a particular view of it, you know, but like, what an absolute mess it is, really. Oh, I can't remember what type. What TFL? Right, basic logic, higher order logic, modal logic. I've got 25 different parameters that I do use, and it is important when you get an analysis done like that, that you realize that AI does make mistakes. And I mean, the fallacies here: greasy graces, preaching quacks, pious frauds, all the ad hominems, they are not proof of anything. Retarded. Yeah, rejects the KJV, he calls it archaic, deeply flawed, retarded version. That guy is absolute poison, in my view. Oh, I can't remember that other type of logic, which I'm quite familiar with. But anyway, I mean, I know that you're able to look at that kind of thing. Oh, I can't remember what the one up from TFL is. Oh, I hate spell correction. It gets me really annoyed. I hate that. I've just got to. Anyway, nice to see you, Praise. I'm surprised that you're up, actually. Oh yeah, abductive logic is using. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Yeah, moral logic appeals to ethical intuition. He frames works as morally obvious. Moral intuition logic, appealing to the listener's sense of fairness. But it is not theological logic. Yeah, what a mess. I mean, it's just loaded with garbage. So I'm not even sure it's worth going through. Truth functional logic, quite basic. Higher order logic, quantifiers, predicates, all that, sets, properties. Modal logic. Oh, deontics. Yeah, I might get into that deontic logic. Obligatory, permitted, or forbidden. There's another one. Oh, you know what's going to happen? At the end of this stream, it will come back to me later. Now, I don't know if you're interested in the analysis that I got. I can give you a link. Oh, hard time sleeping. Well, okay. 25, yes, 25 parameters. All, I call it brutal, BRUTAL, and it's like a key phrase I use when I want to get a text analyzed. It just does a brutal logic based on the KJV. Apply, look for fallacies, a grammar check as well, based on truth functional logic, higher order logic, and modal logic, and yeah, it mentioned deontics there. There's another branch of logic similar to higher order logic, but in between truth functional logic, which is quite basic. That deals with syllogistic reasoning and things like that. And there's 25 others. I don't know if you... 25, yes, indeed. Indeed. Yeah, and it's no big deal. I mean, I really don't care what anybody thinks, particularly, no offense to you. I just want the truth of the matter, regardless of feelings. Now, I'm not going to stamp on somebody's feelings, but I do want to know what the truth of the matter is, the facts. That's it, nothing else. And somebody's feelings about the facts just doesn't mean anything. And this guy absolutely, he is, what did AI refer to Charlie Michaels as being? Nouveau Pelagian. Nouveau Pelagian. Let me see if I can get a link to this. Invite by link. Well, I'll send you a copy. I don't know if you're interested. It probably will bore you. I don't know. I've got to read it myself later. But I'll put it in there anyway. Facts, yeah, facts over feelings. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't want to, I'm not setting out to upset anybody, tread on somebody's feelings, emotions. As far as I'm concerned, when it comes to theology, your emotions don't count. What your feelings are, and I'm not referring to you, Praise, what your feelings are really quite irrelevant. Let me know if you can at least get through to that link, because I'm not sure whether you can. I'm on Copilot. It gave me a link. I posted it. Just let me know, Praise. I'm curious to see, because nobody's come over to my channel when I posted a link like that before. I do have it here still. It's still up. I don't know what you can see or read of it, but I don't think it'll take too long to read. It looks like a lot of text. Yeah. Oh, you're looking right now. It works okay. Good. Jolly good. I'm going to make a smoke and a cup of tea. Nice to see you, Praise. Sorry you can't get to sleep. It's probably you. No, I'm not going to say that. Yeah, yeah, I don't like going to sleep, actually. I'd rather stay awake as long as I can, you know. I don't want to be insomniac, though. Although that could be useful if I could keep reading during all. I have got a book I need to finish reading. I'm waiting for this guy to finish doing, I don't know if he's finishing writing the book or he's finishing editing the book, but I'm very keen because he told me to that reminds me to remind him this morning, get that book finished, editing or whatever it is you're doing. What do you call it when you check it with spelling errors? Proofreading and things like that, yeah. And I do have a couple of other books I want to read. I've read about, there's a book there recommended if anybody else, because Praise is quite familiar with Calvinism. Philbair, Philbair, a book called Calvin's Desperation. Calvin's Desperation. It'll cost you about $11, maybe $12 now. You might get it in a local bookshop, I don't know. You could order it or something. I wouldn't bother because it'll cost you an extra $10 to do it. But yeah, it only cost me about a tenner English to get that book. And it is up. I mean, I'll tell you one thing, and somebody's going to slag me off over it. Philbair, I'll come back in a minute. Let me just fill my kettle. Philbair uses the NIV to refute Calvinism in his book, and he does an absolutely excellent job of it. And I'm going to say, okay, so what? Get your King James Bible. You can do it 10 times better. If you can refute Calvinism with the NIV, you can absolutely, definitely do it with the KJV. And we've got Charlie Michaels, the clown, saying the KJV is monergistic. I mean, it's just unbelievable. It's just totally, wickedly counterintuitive. It just doesn't make sense. Really doesn't make sense. The guy, as far as I'm beginning to think that guy is. I'm beginning to think. I mean, no wonder Charlie Michaels is referred to by Smokey as a scholar. What a pile of tosh. Charlie Michaels is nouveau Pelagian. He's actually admitted it anyway. So there you go. No, I'm not a big, by the way, I'm not a big fan of using AI because it does make mistakes. Of course it does, and I assume it does every time anyway. I like using it for getting images and things. It's really good for that, and get some audio, sound effects and things. So I'm going to have a look at Romans 3. I think it's Romans 3, if I remember. It looks like there's a lot there to read. It shouldn't take you more than 7 or 8 minutes to read it, Tom. To get the gist, anyway, we could probably make a 22-minute video. For some reason, you can't get a transcript without the timestamp now. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because I'm using Google, or I'll probably go on. Beg your pardon. I'll probably go on Brave to get that from now on. Getting a transcript can be useful. Get an analysis done. Get 25 parameters, but you've really got to know, and I'm not an expert, you've really got to know your logic, higher order logic and that kind of thing, modal logic, which I'm not an expert on. I have read a book about it. I've read a book on the subject. I'm blessed in the sense that I studied logic in a different context when I was doing an electronics course, truth tables, Carnot maps, and other types of logic within electronics. So, all right, okay. Well, anyway, I'm glad it works. Right, is it Romans 3, verse 3? Oracles of God. Yeah, fasting. I've got some stuff under this video in the, what do they call it now? The information box. Oh, my speaker's gone off.
Sorry, your speaker is not connected.
Sick of it doing that. Come on.
Sorry, your speaker is not connected.
Yeah, but oh!
Bluetooth mode. Line in mode.
Oh, I'm going to get a different speaker. I've had enough of that. Anyway, in the information box there's some stuff on fasting. I do have a WordPress website with it on. I'll give you a link to that. In the, oh, what do they call it? That box. I keep forgetting the name of it. Oh, well, it doesn't matter. You can have a look at my WordPress site. I'm playing about with it. I did have a massive one. Well, I say massive. A couple of years, well, more than 10 years ago, I think. And I'm playing about with it, really. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, there it is. Visit site. I got the HTML from Copilot. It seems to work okay. You can have a look at my WordPress. Hopefully you can still hear me. I got kicked out of my own studio this morning. Oh. You can have a look at Romans 3. Red dots this time, I think. Have a look at my WordPress site. And what I'm doing on my channel is what I'm doing. Whether you disagree or agree or not. And I found out some more stuff that I've realised the truth of from the prodigal son. Yeah, why did that one turn up? I'm sick of hearing about Iran. By the way, I'm wholeheartedly sick to death of hearing it. Crack on with it. Just don't start throwing nukes at each other. And if you do, keep it over there. Don't bring it around here. I don't know if Ben's there. Ben. Is Ben around? I don't know. He's not going to tell me. Where's Isaac when you don't need him? because I don't need him for anything. I can't think of anything. Just give him a sweeping brush. Common grace works. What would I call that? I put a link here at 1 hour 31. Call it 1 hour 30. Anyway, I'll check that later. I don't know if you're still there reading prayers. Are you still there? Hello? Right, Romans 3 verse 3. Is it Romans 3 verse 3? No, it's not, is it? Yeah, I was going to do something. Was it Romans 3 verse 3? Yeah. It was. Somebody mentioned Romans 11:28. Oh yeah, I know who that was. As concerning the gospel, they are enemies for your sakes. But as touching the election, they are beloved for the Father's sakes. Lowercase f. And yeah, the fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the heads of the 12 tribes, you could say, or even all the prophets, you could say. Anyway, that's Dave's little shtick. Frankly, I was going to say make a comment on that, but it's always when somebody uses that word fathers when they're reading, you don't know. I mean, unless you're following through on the KJV, you don't know whether it's capital F or lowercase f. And if you confuse the two, you're going to think the wrong thing. A valid point he made, yes. And, you know, that's their problem, not mine. I can't go around correcting everybody. I'm not even interested in that, even if I was in a position to do so. I'm not a gatekeeper. I know in whom I believe. I believe Jesus Christ. Anyway, actually, I'm going to show you this document that I've got because the link's in there. This is it. No, not that. This is the link there. I'll see if I can get a shortened link. Invite my link. Yeah, and how would I do that? I'll paste it there. And see if I can get a short link. I should. Why didn't I try it with that there? Actually, I could have done. That ends with 7C. Let's see if it's the same. No, it's not. It's just logging me back in. Request for analysis, see if it comes up as 7C again. I think I've got to send an internal link. Yeah, from, is that? C. No, I'll send the invite link. That'll work better. I'll put it in the side chat. I hope it's useful to you anyway, Tom. That's quite a long link, but it should work. It worked for Tom, so there. There, this is it. Check on that, have a look at the analysis. I can't remember if the whole transcript of Edward Zachary. I'm just talking at the moment. Romans 3. I can't remember why I was going to go to Romans 3. Because I set up this stream about 4 or 5 days ago. And I should have struck while the iron was hot. There was something in Romans 3, and I'm not going to read it out of context. I'm not just going to read only Romans 3 and not look at the rest of Romans 3. I'm going to look at, I mean, I don't like taking one verse out of context. You know, let's go to Romans 3 verse 3 and ignore the verses before and after. Yeah. There was a point I was going to make. From now on, I'm going to take notes and whatever. So Romans 3, what advantage then hath the Jew, or what profit is there of circumcision? Now I've got an app here where I can get high contrast. There it is. I'll show it on screen now. I don't know who you are, but no offense. I hope you're having a nice day. Thank you for coming over. Share screen. Let's have a look. I'm hoping it'll come back to mind what it was I was going to look at. What advantage then hath the Jew, or what profit is there of circumcision? Much every way, chiefly because that unto them were committed the oracles of God. For what if some did not believe? Shall their unbelief make the faith of God without effect? Does God need faith? Shall their unbelief make somebody else's faith in God ineffectual? I doubt that. You couldn't make my faith ineffectual. Anyway, yeah, I'm not going to make that mistake again. I'm going to make a... Oh, hold on, I did have some notes written. Oh, yeah, no, it was about something else. Yeah, I'm not going to do that again. Right, I'm going to have a look at this analysis here. Share this tab instead. Analyze this, brutal. It lost my parameters. There was 25 of them. I'm sure I've got them all back. Logic and rhetorical fallacy detection, category errors, illicit theological inferences, circular reasoning. I mean, there's a ton of stuff. I'm going to get a list of the... Yeah, all his claims are there. All the fallacies are listed. Do go through it. Listen to his video. I've got a transcript. It's not showing on this page. I don't think. It shows as a file, I think. Yeah, there it is. You see that there? So it's not difficult to get the transcript, correct any grammatical errors, which is what one of an extra parameter I added this morning. There's 25 others. And the text is analysed for fallacy, of course, truth functional logic, higher order logic. I'm not going to sit here and explain all that to you. If you don't know, you don't. If you do, you do. Yeah. Ignores context of Matthew 25, argument from silence, ad hominem, category errors, rejects the KJV without evidence. This is all Charlie Michaels. Misdefines pistuo, believe. Yeah, he will do. Absolutely poisonous individual. Where's the other? No, that's not all of it. I mean, there was another. I had a bigger one. Have a look at that. Because I had to reconstruct my parameters, and I wasn't happy about that. I'm going to have to double check it all later. Because I thought that was settled. I just had to type the word brutal in, and I would get an analysis with all the forms of logic, fallacy, critical, based on the KJV, and then it would just sort of churn it out, and then I would have to read it and cross-check the stuff. Yeah, he hates free grace. I don't. I'm not going to give it. Why would I? Doesn't matter how much you hate something. If you can't do anything about the people, the proponents of it, then that's it. If you've got no credibility, they're not really going to listen to you, Dave. Oops. Anyway, I don't know what Praise is doing. What are we doing? I don't know what you're doing. I just know what I'm doing. Sounds a little bit patronizing. What are we doing? Yeah. Well, if you don't know what the oracles of God are, God's word, scripture. What's difficult? Oh, 1 John. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I was going to read 1 John. I could do, actually. Yeah. Anyway, nice to see you, Tom. Oh, yeah, I was going to talk about the parable of the prodigal son. I might do that in another stream later. In fact, I could do it now. Prodigal son. Let me just write down a time stamp. Wherever I'm at now. And that would be 1 hour 46. Yeah, I did something on the prodigal son a couple of weeks ago, actually more than a month ago, early this year anyway. And I sort of found out I had a different sort of... See, the prodigal son was a son all the way through. I do believe eternal security is correct. Although I would say you can't take the mickey. I should, if only I had a Jewish encyclopedia, you know. No, I think I'm gonna... Yeah, I'll do it later. I should make notes. Let me just make a smoke, and then that might make it easier for me to chill out a little bit. Think about what I'm doing, because I don't want to make a mess of it. Now, I did do a thing on the parable of the prodigal son. The prodigal son was a son all the way through. What I found interesting, really, is that the prodigal son asked for his inheritance before his father even passed away. And I know it is a parable, right? I thought, how cheeky is that? I mean, it's like saying, I want my money. I don't want to wait for you to die. And so he got his inheritance. I wonder if that's how it works in Jewish culture. I doubt it, because it seems extremely rude, you know. And then he leaves the Lord's pent, P-E-N-T. Look up that word pent, P-E-N-T, and I looked it up on etymology online or etym online. It just means enclosure. So he turned his back on the Lord's pent, his father's house, the father's pent, spent all his inheritance in riotous living, drinking, surfeiting, eating, banquets, all that kind of thing, you know. And he ends up at the pig pen, and he realizes he's going to end up having to eat pig food, basically, little crusts of bread covered in pig poo or something, I don't know. I mean, visualize it for yourself, think about it. So to get in that pig pen, to feed the pigs, you would have to get in there, wouldn't you? There's a barrier stopping you. If you're looking after pigs, you have to clean them out, feed them, water them. You're going to get covered in all sorts. And he realized that he was better off in the father's house. So he realized that, you know, looking at the pig food. So he turned his back on the pig pen. Realization, comprehension of the situation, knowing he was better off. He's still a son, by the way. So he turns his back on the pig pen, goes back to the father's pen. What would have happened? I do know it was only a parable. If somebody ends up in their life in the pig pen, right, turned the back on the Lord, and then Jesus Christ turns up for the church, what would end up? Where would that guy end up? Makes you wonder. Oh, it's gone off again.
Sorry.
I'm gonna definitely
Bluetooth
buy another speaker.
line mode.
I've had a gutful of that. Had a gutful. Anyway, I'm going to read that analysis to myself later. I'm sure some things will occur to me. I don't know if it's any use to Tom. I hope it is. I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket expecting it to be of any benefit to anybody else. It's useful, but it isn't monolithic. You know, I mean, it is AI. It is artificially intelligent. Its intelligence is artificial. What happens if somebody is in the pig pen when the Lord returns? They're living a disgusting life. Because Jesus isn't going into any pig pens. And if we just think about it like that, why would he? You're supposed to be in the Lord's pen. And I'm not saying that you lose your salvation or anything, but it's not going to be fun, is it? There was a few other things I was going to say about that parable. Oh, that's the problem with delaying doing a live stream. I should have done it straight away. I won't make that mistake again anyway. I just got, well, not late. Yeah, well, yeah, lazy, tired. Yeah, Charlie Michaels is a nouveau Pelagian. May as well be a carbonist. I mean, how can he say that the KJV is monergistic? How? Show me. Where's my lighter? Oh, there it is. There's Tom. Hello. I think he's gone. Yeah, I'm going to give myself a couple of minutes. Peace and quiet. Well, sort of. music. Matthew 27, anyway. Wait a minute. Be more careful how it's not like me. Hi. Oh, by the way, if somebody wants to help me out, you can. Only one star, yeah. I think they've got links.